There's a little-known part of Hollywood that most people are not aware of, known as the Audience Test Preview. The recently released book, Audienceology, reveals this for the first time. Our podcast series, Don't Kill the Messenger, brings this book to life, taking a peek behind the curtain. And now, join author and entertainment research expert, Kevin Goetz.
Normally, when you think of black and blue, you think of a bruise from an injury, but that's not what black and blue means on this show today. Todd Black and Jason Blumenthal are two of Hollywood's most respected blockbuster producers, and long ago, they actually had a production company called Black and Blue. For many years, though, they have been partners with Steve Tisch and David Bloomfield in their award-winning studio and production company, Escape Artists. Let me read you some of the movies that their company has produced, okay? The Weatherman, The Pursuit of Happyness, The Great Debaters, 7 Pounds, The Equalizer series, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, A Journal for Jordan, Emancipation, and Being the Ricardos. And this doesn't even include their incredible slate of television shows or their list of awards, nominations, accolades. Seriously, these guys have it going on. Guys, thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited about today's show.
Thank you, Kevin. This is very cool to be here and knowing you all these years and then to be here. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome.
How did Black and Blue come to be?
Black and Blue came to be because Jason and I had worked together. Jason was actually an intern because he's a little bit younger than I am.
Just a tad.
And he was my intern, and then he went to college. And
Syracuse.
He went to Syracuse, to the Newhouse school. And he said to me before he left, I'm going to call you when I graduate. That was 4 years later. And he called me the day he graduated. And he said, I'm driving back from New York, and I want to work for you. And I said, I don't have a job. And he said, I'll do it for free.
Oh, Lord.
And he showed up on that Monday.
Smart.
And that Monday he showed up. And by that Friday, I'm like, you can't do it for free because you're too valuable. And
well, he also couldn't legally do it for free.
Well, now you can.
Well, now you can. Right. Back then you could. This was in 1830. And
it was 33 years ago. And I say that because I've been married to my wife for 23 years.
Chrissy.
And I've been married to Todd for 33 years. Yeah. So Todd has tenure and seniority.
2 marriages that are working.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's lucky to have one marriage that works in a lifetime. But by the way, let's call out right now to Ruth, who I love beyond.
Yeah, who we just had our 34-year wedding anniversary, and we've been together 36 years.
Well, Ruth is an extraordinary architect and designer. And I called Todd and Ruth over to our house before I purchased it, and they walked in, and Todd walked around.
It's an incredible
about 2 minutes and said, "Buy it."
Yeah, it's an incredible.
Buy it.
It's really anyway. But Jason and I, we ran when Peter Guber formed Mandalay in '95. We ran Mandalay Pictures together, and we made movies like Donnie Brasco and I Know What You Did Last Summer and Wild Things and 7 Years in Tibet. And then from there, we were there for 3 years. And from there, we decided that we wanted to be Peter Guber and not work for Peter Guber. So we went to Peter, and who we love, and said, we're going to start our own company. So we started Black and Blue. And
best name of any company of all time.
I think it's about the best name.
Yeah, it really is.
Welcome to the world of being a producer.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
get bruised every day.
Well, also but also that titles are the hardest thing to do in our business.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you happen to hit.
It's all positioning.
Yeah. Our logo was great too. Anyway, so in '98 we sat down with Amy Pascal and John Calley, may he rest in peace, and we said, we want to start our own Mandalay, if you will. And Amy was incredibly supportive. She was running the studio at the time, Columbia. And so we formed a partnership. And then we met through Patrick Waxberger, Steve Tisch. And Steve Tisch was also looking to kind of bring in some foreign money and kind of rejigger his company as well, the Steve Tisch Company. So
was this post Forrest Gump?
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
So we met him. We fell in love on a first date, so to speak. And the three of us said, let's just merge our companies after a one-time lunch. And we merged.
Isn't that amazing how you can have those insanely serendipitous, just perfect connections?
Yeah,
don't you agree you know when you know?
You know when you know.
Yeah. Todd and I had something really good going, and we'd been together for so long, and we had a shorthand, and we just kind of were able to read each other's thoughts, and we had a real connection. So if we were going to join forces with somebody else, it had to be somebody that, A, had the potential to
fit in with us.
Fit in, but also add to what Todd and I were able to do.
What's your superpower, Jason?
I honestly believe my superpower is I can create something from nothing, and I have done it time and time.
You mean
and
from
time.
an idea? Is that what you mean?
Before it's even an idea.
Ah.
So it's
You mean something that you feel could be a good movie or
but
television
that's all
show.
I do. It really is my superpower. So if you sit in a movie theater before the movie starts and you see all those specks of dust running through the light, I'm able to take that tiniest piece of dust and create a movie.
Okay, I just want to say something to our young listeners, particularly young filmmakers, to hear the clarity and the fast nature at which Jason answered that question. He knew exactly what his superpower was. And that is so much about the key to success is knowing what you're great at, not what you're good at, because you're good at a lot of things, but you're great at one thing.
Right.
And it should and hopefully will inform the rest of your life.
And you're completely right. And knowing what you're not good at.
Oh, baby.
So
baby.
One of the reasons our partnership is so strong is I know what I'm not good at. I'm really clear.
What are you mostly not good at?
I would say I'm not good at the original idea the way Jason is. We'll be in a room and Jason will look at the tree in the corner and he'll go, we should do a movie about the tree and here's what it is.
Wow.
Now, once he's going with that idea, then I can come into it. I'll make this the analogy of a writer. Jason could take a blank page and he can write a screenplay. I can take that screenplay and give the fixes. So that's why we're such a good team.
Right. And why it really works is because I spend most of my time by design in the weeds.
But are you both on-set producers?
Not next to each other. We don't leave each other's side. That's the thing.
We,
not only that, we can't do it if we're not next to each other.
So then you really are both closer than you are to your wives because
we're together. I mean, we talk to each other 7 days a week.
I would talk to Ruth and say, Ruth, where's Todd? Oh, Black's here.
Yeah.
And God knows,
also,
Christy and you see each
always,
other.
we talk more and see each other more.
It also helps that we really like each other.
Yeah, I love that.
We were just doing Equalizer 3 in Italy. And for 5 months,
just drop that one.
Jason and I lived in Italy for 5 months, all over Italy.
Oh my
and literally one day we were walking back to our villa in Amalfi where we shot. And Jason looks at me and he goes, the movie's really getting in the way of our vacation. And that's really the way it felt.
And we've done a lot of movies, and luckily we've been busy and successful over the years where we've had to split up. I was living in Philly shooting a TV show with M. Night Shyamalan called Servant. Todd was in Louisiana. So there are times, fortunately, that Todd and I can't be together. That means that we're kicking ass at our jobs.
You know, when I worked on Equalizer, I kept thinking, damn, whoever made this movie, meaning I don't know whoever, I didn't know it was both of you, and said, really must have had the best time ever.
Yeah.
The scenery, the settings were so extraordinarily beautiful.
I mean, we literally got to shoot in Rome, in Naples, in Amalfi for 6 weeks. We walked from our villa at the top of the mountain down to our little village, which we took over, Trani, and we walked to work every day.
And it's nice on this one especially because we have been fortunate to do that on all the Equalizers. Equalizer 1, Todd and I were in Boston. Equalizer 2, Boston and New York. And Equalizer 3 in Italy. But
and Equalizer 4 in Bali? Fiji?
This franchise particularly means something really special to not only our company but to Todd and I. I mean, we went out and bought a title 15 years
with our
ago.
own money.
With our own money.
We wrote a check out of our
title of the Equalizer.
Whoa.
We bought no rights. We bought no story. We bought a title because we always knew what we could do if we had the right one.
Jason and I never saw the series. There was an Equalizer series.
We didn't watch it, but we
knew.
knew.
70s or 80s, I guess. We never saw it. But Jason and I liked the title. We both liked the title.
And what it really means, he's equalizing karma.
Correct. That's
Right.
a great way of putting
Justice. And we knew that from day one. But that's a theme that isn't going to just disappear once, right? Justice and fighting for people that don't have a voice and standing up for people that can't stand up for themselves.
Amen.
That's something that can run. And we've had not only the fortune of being able to tell these stories, but we've been able to do it with the GOAT, the greatest actor of all time.
Well, what was fun is once we got the rights, Jason and I were like, we need the best actor to pull this off. And fortunately, we've had a long relationship with Denzel, 31 years.
Has it gone 31 years?
Yeah.
What was the first picture you did with him?
Antoine Fisher.
Oh, I worked on that with you.
Yeah, very proud of that movie.
That movie. And wasn't the discovery of the actor
Antoine Fisher
himself
was a guard at Columbia Pictures in Culver City. And he was taking a screenwriting class after the riots from my old roommate in college, Chris Smith, who has since passed. And Chris called me one day and he goes, there's this kid. He's a guard at Sony Pictures. His name is Antoine Fisher. He has an amazing story.
You need to hear it.
And he brought him into the office and we heard it. And I was crying in my office when he told me his life story. And he said, other producers at Columbia want to buy it, but they won't let me write it. And I want to write it.
But he doesn't know how to write.
So Jason and I wrote him a check out of our checkbook. We bought him a computer because he was writing on
he had 100 pages on white pages.
And we moved him into an office.
How much did you pay?
$10,000.
Which was $1 million to him at the time.
Absolutely. That's some balls, guys, that you wrote a $10,000 check.
That circles back to what Jason said. We bought the Equalizer rights.
But that's
with our own money.
Right.
You did. The studio didn't.
No, we paid for it.
And then we paid for it. And then to top it off, not only did we buy the rights, we paid the writer, Richard Wank, who's written all three of them, we paid him out of our own money again
to write the
screenplay.
We owned it.
And then once that happened, we went to Denzel. We took him to Kraft for lunch in Century City. And I said, you've never done a franchise. Are you interested? And he goes, probably not, but what is it? And I told him. He goes, I remember that TV show. And I said, it's not the TV show. He goes, if the character is great, I will do it. But don't give me the script till the character is great. So we proceeded for another year to do, I don't know how many rewrites with Richard.
Multiple drafts.
Draft after draft.
You must have been so nervous giving it to him.
We gave it to him on Monday, July 3rd.
Yeah.
I was going to Amy Pascal's house on Tuesday for a little barbecue, July 4th. He was in Paris with his family.
First trip I taken in
vacation.
Forever.
I get a call Tuesday afternoon before I'm going to Amy's. It's very hot.
On the 4th.
On the 4th. Very hot in the house. I didn't put the air conditioning on. Ruth and I were upstairs. My phone rings. I see it's Denzel. I pick up. I say, hey. And he goes, hey, it's Robert McCall calling.
Oh.
And I say, what? And he goes, Robert McCall. And this is what he says. He says, I love the script. I'm doing the movie. I want to be pay or play by Friday. Let Amy know. Goodbye. Boom. Next call was his agent, Andrew Finkelstein, saying, he's in. Get the deal done. I have Ruth wrap the script up with a ribbon. We drive to Amy's house for 4th of July party. We sit down. I put the script down. I said, I brought you a little gift. She goes, you don't have to bring me a gift. I said, no, you're going to want this gift.
And open it now.
She opens it up. She sees what it is. I said, Denzel Washington is attached, and he wants to be made pay or play by Friday. That night, Tuesday night, late, Jason and I heard from Matt Tolmack, Doug Belgrad, Ange Giannetti, and I think Josh at the time. Yeah. And they're like, we love the script. We're in. And he was pay or play by Friday.
Wow.
That's the way Equalizer
And we just wrapped Equalizer 3.
Well, who would kill that deal?
Right.
Pretty fun story.
But it was, and I'm not just saying it because it's us, it was producing in the truest sense of the word. Okay?
Tell us about that.
Okay, the title is only one thing. There is no movie without Richard Wank. And Richard Wank, our writer, has been there from day one till today.
I think these scripts are so good.
No, because Richard is the best in show.
But they're not, people can dismiss it as a action franchise. It's so much more
character.
than that.
It's a character.
It really is a character
And it's
piece.
Denzel.
Yeah.
But
here's the thing. And I remember the first time Richard sat on my couch. I'd never met him before. I'd seen a couple of his credits. They were all kind of B action movies, big, giant, things I'd seen. He sat on my couch. And I love Richard more than anything, but I remember this moment and he was just defeated, even though he had been writing movies.
Why?
Here's why. He says, I can write action all day, the best action anyone's going to read, but I'm writing them for guys that can't act. And I'm not going to mention those names, okay? But when I said, we're going to have Denzel Washington.
Then it went to another level.
It elevated.
When you're lucky enough, like we are, to get to work with, we've worked with him so many times as an actor and as a director and producer. you have to bring your A game. If you're a writer, if you're a producer.
I was just going to say, you can't keep going back to an A-list talent, one of the largest, biggest stars, arguably, in the world, and not produce time and time again.
And you have to be really good at it. You cannot phone it in.
So what's your superpower?
I would say really understanding when a script is ready to go to a Denzel Washington or a director. Or not, and then getting it to them. I'm very good at getting...
Give me an example of something that you betrayed that, meaning you didn't follow your instincts, and damn it, the thing didn't go.
Well, I'm not going to say what the project is, but I have been, not through Jason actually, through people that have worked in our company that are no longer in our company, that wanted me to go out with a piece of material that I kind of knew instinctually wasn't ready to go out. And I went out with it, and I couldn't get it going. And it hurts me. My name's on it.
Yeah, you bet it does. And fortunately, you built up a pretty high stock price, so it doesn't hurt you that much. But I will tell you this. Second good lesson to young filmmakers and people listening. If you don't follow, and when you betray your superpower, it often backfires.
100%. Could not agree with you more. You have to trust your instinct. Right. And the great thing with Jason and I is we keep fresh eyes on each other's material. So I don't give him something that I'm working on until I really feel good about it, because then he'll give me notes, and his notes are really smart, and vice versa, I like to think. So when we ultimately do go out with a piece of material to an agent, a director, an actor, a manager, it usually has our stamp on it. Till our stamp is on it, we will not go out with it anymore.
We road test our material to that point to see, we want to shake it. We want to drive it bumpy and see, can it last? And so really back when you're asking about Todd's superpower, Todd is amazing at looking down at an entire field and being able to see three-dimensionally all the pieces come to play.
Were you ever a studio executive?
No, never.
No.
Did you ever want to be?
No.
They all came to him. Everyone, but that role would be wasted on Todd, because Todd can continually deliver top-flight entertainment and content from his position. But when you're in an executive level and in a managerial level, your skill sets really aren't being used properly if indeed you are a producer at heart. And Todd is a producer at heart. And so where we work so good is, like I said, I'm in the weeds below. So I'm looking up, he's looking down, and together we're covering the entire plane. And we're able to work really well within those boundaries.
And the other thing, to be completely frank, is Jason and I have been super careful, as has Steve Tisch and David Bloomfield. We treat the entire town the way we want to be treated, period.
Todd Black does not have one enemy in Hollywood, and I say that. I hope people are listening to this podcast so people can actually debate me.
I would believe
I'm not going to go that far with me, but I will tell you this. I have never heard one disparaging word about Todd Black, and I've been his partner for 33 years.
But I think
that's a testament.
Thank you. I think as important it is with knowing your superpower like you're talking about, it's as equally as important to make sure, may it be the guy that cleans our kitchen at our offices at Sony, who I talked to for 25 years now, and I saw him the other day. And
he may have a good script idea.
Wherever it is, but just treat everybody the way you want to be treated. Everybody. The guy that cleans the toilets in your trailer on the weekends and during the night when you go home, you better be nice to him.
I cannot tell you, and you know me well enough to know that that is my credo. I mean, I manage down and up. I don't have
Well, I see the way you treat your staff. That's why you've had people for so long, and it's why you're successful. Truly. Yes, you have all the knowledge, and yes, you're inventive and creative. But, Kevin, people like you and work for you for a long time.
Thank you so much. But it goes back to a decency.
Yeah.
It goes back to a sense of honor and integrity.
Trust.
Exactly. And trust. And I think those qualities are the long haul qualities. You know, you could be opportunistic and do all those things that might step on somebody, but it doesn't go the long haul. The long haul play to me is those values. And that's why my husband and I had been together for almost 30 years.
And that is especially, we're looking at the film business 2.0 right now. I mean, it is tough to make movies, to create content. It makes it harder when there's people becoming obstacles in your way that aren't actually helping you. And I think that this is the time, and I think what this strike is going to hopefully do when we come out of it, and the strength that this summer has shown at the box office between Barbenheimer and hopefully Equalizer 3, is that I think everybody's going to be rooting for everybody again. And I think we need that spirit
I agree
in
with
town.
that.
I think
agree.
everybody needs to come together and really root for each other.
You can't root for people to not succeed. You have to root for movies to succeed. You have to root for executives to succeed.
We all have to help each other.
I give advice to people all the time when they say, oh, so-and-so hurt me, so-and-so hurt me, or they wronged me, and I say, send them love.
Well,
honestly, because it's never hurting them.
Yeah. Ed L'Amato had the greatest expression. May he rest in peace. He was Denzel's agent amongst many major movie stars' agents forever. He said you can only be mad at somebody in the business for 1 year. Because he said if you stay mad longer than 1 year, you're going to miss out on so much business.
Can I tell you, I've had relationships where there's been real tension, usually not from me, but the person towards me. Mm-hmm. And I have actually actively healed those relationships.
Me too.
I just go back and I say, let's talk.
Yeah, me too.
Let's work this out. I don't think ever been rebuffed, but it's so healthy to do that. I'm going to tell you a very, very quick story. I was in Boston a couple of weeks ago. I went off on somebody because I wanted to get into a museum and they wouldn't let us in. And my husband's producing a series about this museum. So I went off on this guy because he wouldn't let us in. And I didn't get what I wanted. And I was a dick. I was an asshole. And I was obsessed thinking about it. Neil said, just drop it already. Next night, I was still thinking about it. So I wrote him a letter and I apologized. And I said, I was immature. I didn't get what I wanted. And you were doing your job. And please accept my apology. And then he wrote me back and I wrote him back. And that's how I cleaned my karmic plate.
Yeah. That's the way you do it.
And I just wanted to share that.
That is the way you do it. So anyone that's listening, you gotta make it right. Even if you are right, you got to make it right if there's a problem. You got to
especially if you're wrong.
Yeah, and especially if you're wrong, you got to.
By the way, the guy was a dick. He was a dick, but I didn't care. Right. It didn't matter. I couldn't control his behavior, but I could certainly control mine. Right. And that's the moral of the story.
It's also maturity. It's maturity.
I just didn't want that baggage. Why am I holding on to this? Yeah. Because it didn't make me feel good about my reaction.
Right. You know, it's so funny. I was talking to a major person in the movie business years ago at lunch, just kind of trying to seek advice and learn, because I think it's always important as you're coming up in the business in your 20s, 30s, 40s, even 50s, to go see people that are even more successful than you are to learn. And one of the things I said to this person at lunch is, give me a piece of advice. Give me something to walk away from lunch. And they said that the main thing is to own your mistake, own it, fully own it, and to be completely open to knowing what you don't know and asking the question and going, I didn't know that. Thank you for telling me that. Because if you walk into a room like you own it and you know everything, no one's going to be there to help you.
We're going to take a break. That was really good advice. We'll be back in a moment.
Get a glimpse into a secret part of Hollywood that few are aware of and that filmmakers rarely talk about. In the new book, Audienceology by Kevin Goetz. Each chapter is filled with never-before-revealed inside stories and interviews from famous studio chiefs, directors, producers, and movie stars, bringing the art and science of audienceology into focus. Audienceology, how moviegoers shape the films we love. From Tiller Press at Simon & Schuster. Available now.
We're back with Jason Blumenthal and Todd Black, and we were talking about, I think, a lot of profound life lessons. I want to ask you about your secret sauce in the success of your movies, and there's a underlying, often, reason for them to exist. More than that, a meaning. Some kind of depth to your pictures, which I really, really appreciate. Do you have a secret sauce?
I think we do. I don't want to say every single one of them because sometimes they're just for entertainment value, which is a great thing. But I'm glad you noticed that. I think we work really hard at characters. And I think secret sauce of characters, may they be Barbie, or may it be Antoine Fisher, or The Equalizer, or name the name of other people's movies. Usually when they're successful, it's because you like a character. It can be a bad guy. It can be a good guy. It can be a secondary character. It can be a lead character. I think you have to like a character.
That's innate DNA stuff.
Yeah, there. If you can like a character when you're watching a movie that you're either rooting for or rooting against or connecting with in some way, either because you can relate with them or you want to be like them or you admire them or they're sexy or they're whatever, 9 times out of 10, you'll have a successful movie. There has to be a likable character or characters. And one of the things Jason and I always talk about with writers and with directors is we must make sure whatever story we're telling, doesn't matter what it is, action, doesn't matter what genre, we have got to like our characters and we've got to delineate the characters. I have a secret when I read scripts. If I can cover the character's name up when I'm reading on my iPad or a hard copy of a script, I'll cover their names up. If I don't know which character is saying that, then I know we have a problem. And I got to go back and work with the writer.
I've been doing that forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many scripts I read where you're like,
who's saying that?
No, but like
that's
the same voice as what.
So it's character delineation. That's really working with a writer.
And I took piano lessons, and we call that voicing.
Right.
When you have different kind of characterizations within a piece.
Right.
And so that's very similar to a script, I think.
Very important. I think it's probably one of the most important things we've talked about is you got to make sure your writer understands character delineation and different colors of voices.
Well, I want to move to the test screening process because obviously that's where we all come together and have for years. I think, Jason, we met on I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Years ago, yes.
So you have a reverence for the audience. There's no question. You embrace the process, listen to the audience.
You're making movies for audiences. You're not making movies for yourself.
But you also know that when you have characters, almost everything is fixable. When you have characters that people will invest in and want to follow their journey, you can edit around that plot-wise. You can reshoot, but you can't manufacture authenticity in relationship. So I would agree with you probably 100% that is the most important of all of the boxes to check.
And by the way, we learned that from the testing process.
Tell me about that.
Well, I mean, we both have learned. I mean, we've tested so many freaking movies
hundreds
over our careers.
I mean, hundreds of screenings.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know how many. And you learn every single time, both after the screening, in the focus group, getting the book afterwards, talking to you guys the next day and taking us through the way you guys beautifully take us through it all. It always comes down to the characters every single time.
But if you're actually looking at the process, I remember, maybe it was, I Know You Did Last Summer, but as a young producer, going through the science and the rigor of a testing process, I think that's when I first realized in that first test screening, oh, wow, we didn't make the movie for the studio. We made the movie for the audience. This is what really matters because the studio is the studio. The audience is the audience.
And the audience will decide its fate.
And the audience doesn't care what the studio thinks.
You know what it's like. When you guys come into a screening, you're probably nervous as hell. You're opening your kimono. You're putting yourself out there, your child out to
and it never gets
the
less
world.
nerve-wracking.
Oh, I got to share something.
Martha Coolidge, by the way, was a guest, and she said that she got into usually an car accident to every screening. Did she say that, Gare?
I want to vomit before every screening.
Oh yeah, I had diarrhea.
Yeah.
Every.
Every time.
3 Jews in a room
but it's
talking.
True. I mean, but you have to deal with us. You deal with all of us.
Oh my God,
you deal with every person in Hollywood at these screenings. You understand.
I think part of my job often is more of a consigliere.
It is.
And a rabbi than it is.
And then you have to calm us down afterwards.
Researcher.
If the numbers weren't where we wanted it to be, and you have to help get us.
But you also know,
place.
Todd and Jason, I mean it when I say, but your characters, they really are embracing these characters. Right. If that is said, you know it's all fixable.
Right.
Because you can reshoot an ending.
Right.
As I said, you can truncate the movie and make it shorter.
Right.
You can add comedic moments if you wanted to go back.
What's good about you, though, Kevin, is you don't sugarcoat it. You'll go, guys, this is why it's not working. I suggest you do A, B, and C, or at least understand you got a pacing issue. Fix it how you want, but you have a pace. Like, you are very good at identifying why you think the audience didn't score something or why they didn't get something. Because you've been doing it so long and you understand the process of what we're trying to get to. And oftentimes we're holding on so tight we can't see it. Whereas you are very smart and fresh eyes and seasoned, where you can say to the director and the producer in the studio, guys, here's your problem. It's up to us.
Correct.
To either take that.
If you notice, I just stopped short of making my own editorial suggestions. Every now and then someone will say, what do you think? And I'll try by example. I might say, you have a dream sequence. They're not seeing that it's a dream or a flashback, guys. You need to show some kind of treatment or something to let us, the audience, know that we're back in flashback or something like that. I'll give an example.
You're very good like that.
Thank you so much. But the truth is that my job is to interpret what the audience is saying and then guide you to hopefully see that as well.
And making it better.
By the way, this podcast is called Don't Kill the Messenger for a reason. There are people not like you who don't like what I have to say or any of the people that work with me have to say because they don't want to hear the truth.
Right.
And all we're doing is being the conduit to the filmmakers and the studio. Studios almost never get upset because they really do want to hear it, but often filmmakers are so emotionally invested. So I try very earnestly to be sensitive to that fact. But still in all, they have to hear it.
You're in a tough position because there are lots of directors and producers that we all know that really are afraid of the testing process. And when you can finally get to a place, and because Jason and I have been doing it so long, yes, it's nerve-wracking, but we learn so much from it, and it does make our movies better.
Let's talk specifics.
Yeah.
Jason, talk to me about a moment you remember that is a seminal moment that the audience informed something that just made a difference.
Well, I will say it because now obviously learning that maybe the movie will have come out before the podcast, but I will talk about Equalizer 3 because Todd and I can be not more proud of this film, and I think it's going to be hopefully the most successful, and it could really be the best of the three. But there was a storyline that we pursued in the film to try to give Denzel's character, Robert McCall, one more layer that we didn't know he was possibly going to be given another chance at. And cards on the table was a love story. There was a little love story. And
we shot it. It was
but we spent so much time developing it and trying to figure out the right way to tell that type of love story and that type of way to this type of character. And Todd, Richard, and I, and Antoine thought, fuck yeah, we nailed it. We think we've done it.
And Denzel was thrilled with it. It really worked.
And what happened? I know the answer, but you tell me.
Thanks to you.
We tested it.
Seriously, thanks to you. We tested it in Chicago.
Yep.
And the audience fully rejected it. Now, we would have never known that had we not tested the movie.
But we also wanted to understand why, not just that
What was the why?
Here's really the why. This is the third in a franchise, right? And in these first two films, the audience has become so connected to Robert McCall and so invested in what Robert McCall stands for to an audience that feels they need him most, which is a voice to the voiceless, a purpose to the powerless.
And they don't want to share him with anybody. They don't want to share him.
And that the idea that maybe Denzel, Robert McCall, was going to settle down with this woman who he deserves, and they deserve each other, but maybe not be there for the rest of us, was something that maybe viscerally the audience was experiencing but not understanding completely. And yet the scores told us something wasn't.
And then, because of that test screening in Chicago, and the next day you guys taking us through all your findings and your thoughts about here's your problem, we went in, we recut, we reshaped, we took out most of that love story.
And finding just the right elements.
And then all of a sudden, it went up 21 points.
And then the next time.
21 points. That's a lot.
We call it significant, statistically significant.
And it's wonderful to watch the process work in that way, right? Because we've had movies one in specific, we did a movie called The Upside, Bryan Cranston and Kevin Hart.
Oh, I love that movie.
And that movie tested right out of the gate the highest test score I've ever had.
But I don't mean any disrespect. I even like the original movie.
But I say that.
So you were able to not ruin the original for me and make me really enjoy your movie.
And we're doing 2 now.
But I say that, Kevin, because the first test was through the roof, highest test score we've ever had, and that was it. We knew we had a hit. That said, there is something satisfying in that. But having gone through what Todd and I just went through on our baby here with the Equalizer and having something that the audience kind of didn't truly embrace, and we could not let that
particularly
be the case.
women
right,
didn't
and then going through the process.
And if women are not embracing the love story,
and then going through the process, working the film, making sure the audience felt the same way the filmmakers felt and trying to find that bridge, retesting, and then getting to a place where I think we have fucking nailed it. We have nailed the dismount, and we have absolutely produced something
to Jason's
fantastic.
point, and Kevin, to your...
And that's not hyperbolic.
No.
I'm saying to you, Jay, because you are an enthusiastic supporter of the film, but you're speaking the truth.
But Kevin...
It's how the sausage is made,
Kevin,
too.
not to blow smoke up your ass, because we've been friends forever, that test screening in Chicago, had we not done it, had you not interpreted it the way you interpreted it to us and zeroed in on your love story's the problem, guys.
And really, had the windows opened at the Peninsula Hotel on the 18th floor where Todd and I were staying, we would have jumped. And thank God, Peninsula, for keeping their windows
because
closed.
We've never had that movie test that low.
Yeah, and we were scared.
And then to have that jump, it was a huge jump. And then our third test screening, we just tweaked some stuff, and it went up 6 more points.
But I just want to say also that I knew when it didn't test to the level of the others that it was going to get there.
Oh, you did.
That
you immediately. You said, "God, you were actually great." That night, you said, "Don't worry, don't worry. It's all there." You kept saying, "It's all there." Just.
And why did I say that? Because
characters.
The characters.
Yeah.
But you also knew that we would.
Characters.
Yeah. But you also knew that Todd and I were never going to give up on this thing.
Well,
and
that's another story.
Right. But that's just important because we never give up on our project.
But I am curious about something.
Yeah.
So you know all of us in Hollywood.
Sure.
You know all the producers. You know all the directors. I mean, you know all of us. You've been doing it forever, and you have a huge company, and you're Kevin Goetz. Are there ever times with filmmakers that you go, you know what? I'm not going to test that movie because they are impossible.
Oh, I just went through. I have 2 examples. One was a very important movie coming out that the filmmaker, I did not moderate this, but our company tested it. The filmmaker did not want or didn't stay for the focus group and didn't want to hear, except to read the book privately, didn't want to hear what the research really had to say. Mm-hmm. And they asked me to fly back east, and I said, no, I just don't want to go to that effort because I'm running a company.
And you're not going to change his mind.
And I'm not even going to be heard.
Right.
So why does it matter that I do that?
Yeah.
And it really wasn't an ego thing. It was just like,
so that doesn't make
sense.
That's interesting.
And then the other recent time is someone who just refuses to listen to the notes.
So we've
tested it. We've tested the movie now 3 times, and it's the same scores over and over. And it's so obvious what needs to be done. And you get to a point of like, I'll take your money, but I really don't even want to take your money because you're not listening.
You're there to help the movie.
But not everyone sees it.
Right.
But you are. Case in point, look at our movie.
Yeah, but you all, I mean that. Not everyone listens. They really don't. There's either an arrogance or there's
It's fear.
But if you're fearful, you probably should listen and say, okay, what are they saying? Let me go away a little bit and process this. And you know me well enough to know that I'm not going to bludgeon them, and I'm going to present it in a sensitive way.
Well, you did that with us. I mean, we did get back to our hotel in Chicago that night, and we were both like, where's the alcohol? Oh, my God. And then when we spoke to you the next day, you were like, guys, it's fixable by doing these things. It's just in this area.
So what you asked me back, was it more satisfying to come out of the gate with a 95, or was it more satisfying to go through this process and now we're about to launch our movie and we know that we're sending it out there the best version, the best shape it's ever been? Honestly, That's the most satisfying.
No question. No question. I think that's really beautifully said. Any other stories that come to mind that sort of change the trajectory of the picture that you can think of? Because you've seen so many. There's so many stories. I would probably have to say that every one of your movies probably had some change made to it because of the test process.
And I will say this. I'll give you a great example. We made Pursuit of Happyness, and we were flipped out because there was only one actor that we could get. And again, it was a project Jason and I put our own money into.
You mean they'd only make it with Will?
And we knew that Amy Pascal was not going to make that movie with anyone but Will Smith. And she's like, but you don't have Will Smith. I'm like, but we'll get him. You got to trust. We'll get him. She's like, And after doing 100 rewrites with Steve Conrad on the script and giving the script on Christmas to JL, Will's partner, and Will, and then them calling us December 31st and saying,
what is it with holidays in you?
Well, I know, right? We're in.
Exactly.
And then giving it to Amy saying, here's a script. And Amy didn't even know about it. Here's a script.
Did Ruth wrap this one?
No, not that one.
Okay.
And giving it to them with Will attached. And Amy's like, it's a great script. You got Will. It's not in a superhero movie, so
she never thought you'd get him, right?
I can't give you enough. I'm not going to be able to give you enough money. And we're like, that's okay. And we're going with a director that doesn't speak English. That's okay.
Who's the director?
Gabriel Muccino.
He did that in 7 Pounds for us.
And everyone's hanging on like this, and cut the movie. And we hadn't shown it to Amy. We hadn't shown it to anybody. It was me, Jason, JL, Will's partner, and Will, and our director and the editor. No one else had seen the movie. No one. We literally took our 10 weeks, shape, We liked it. We had no idea, though. I mean, it's a homeless man's story, okay? We didn't have a clue. We set the screening up for Amy and all the executives. We go back to our offices. We're in our offices.
In Thalberg? They're screening it at the backstage theater.
At the backstage.
Yeah.
And our offices are next to Thalberg. And so it's me, JL, Will. We're all sitting there. We're nervous. We knew it was 2 hours. We're like, dying. We were dying. It's 10 o'clock in the morning. 12:04, we hear the elevator beep outside of our offices, and we hear Amy and the group, where are they? We're like, oh.
They had never been to our offices once.
Yeah. They came screaming, best movie Columbia's made. She called Howard Stringer and John Calley.
What a story.
So cut to, we still didn't know what we had. We go to Seattle. We test in Seattle. Will decides to come to the screening and come in when the lights go down. You know about this, Kevin. You have to deal with actors all the time that do that. He sneaks in. Movie comes up. People are standing, clapping, standing after a test screening. That doesn't really happen. Do the focus group. At the very end, Will's like, lucky thing you all said nice things about it. They turned around. He hugged. It was great. We get the scores. It was 94 in the top two boxes. 94.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
I remember, but
you mean you're only 6 points away from
And we get on the plane, and we're all just so happy. And Amy looks at us and she goes, lock the picture.
Oh.
That was it.
Wow.
And I'll leave you with this because one of the things that Will said to me on that night that's never left me, and I've quoted it and I say it still, and it's one of the smartest things I've ever heard and the truest thing I ever heard. It was after the audience erupted and started applauding and everybody was crying and I was crying because it was so wonderful.
And we didn't know what we had.
We didn't know, and I remember hearing it and the thunderous applause, and there was a little moment where Todd, Will, and I are just off into a corner, and he looked at both of us and he says, you know what? When they tell you they like a movie, they're telling you they liked how it ended, because they don't remember how it started. And when they walk out of that theater and they say they loved it.
Will said that?
Yeah. It's because they liked and loved how it ended.
And he's obsessed with endings.
Because that's what they're telling you. They don't remember how it starts, but they remember how it ends. And when they walk out and they tell you they loved it because you gave an audience something that they wanted and something that they deserved, and you delivered.
Wow.
And that's the secret to a successful film.
Well, guys, thank God you have leaned into your superpowers and have given us so many great movies, given me the opportunity and the honor to work with you, two great producers.
Thank you, Kevin.
I'm so happy to call you friends.
You're a good friend. Kevin.
Yeah, Kevin, thank you so
know,
much.
I love
Personally
you both.
and professionally.
Yeah, I really do. You're very, very special to me. And I hope you come back again because I have to tell you something. There's so many questions I have that I didn't even ask because it was such a free-flowing conversation. So thanks again.
Thank you,
Thank
Kevin.
you.
To our listeners, I hope you enjoyed our interview. I encourage you to check out escapeartists.com to learn more about Jason and Todd's work and to follow them on social media. For other stories like this one, please check out my book, Audienceology, at Amazon or through my website at kevingets360.com. You can also follow me on my social media at kevingets360. Next time on Don't Kill the Messenger, I'll welcome Robbie Brenner, who heads up the film division at Mattel and who is largely responsible for this summer's hit, Barbie. Until then, I'm Kevin Goetz, and to you, our listeners, I appreciate you being part of the movie-making process. Your opinions matter.